Flight attendants of Reddit, what's the worst attempt at joining the Mile High Club that you've seen? I was on a flight maybe a decade ago during spring break. So lots of college students on my plane. It was a large plane with a middle row with 3 seats. I was to the left and sitting on my right was a male army bro in his early 20s. And to his right a college-aged lady. They get to talking. She is obviously flirting with him. He is talking about his army training. It's not captivating at all. But they have chemistry. I watch a forgettable movie and disregard their conversation. About 2 hours and I start to hear make-out sounds next to me. I'm not gonna hate, they can have their fun. But it escalates. I start to hear her moaning and he quite obviously is fingering her aggressively. No shame at all. I feel a bit like the third wheel, so I went to the lavatory to give them privacy. After returning to my seat, it was apparent he had done a good job, and as we deplaned it was clear they were going to find the closest private space to finish the tryst. He just sat in the bathroom. Said getting a woman back there was half the battle. And that his way was like lambs to the slaughter. Not a flight attendant, but I was recently on a flight where 2 people made it obvious that they were trying to do the nasty. The bathroom on the airplane was extremely small and unfortunately the couple was more on the bigger side. They tried to both squeeze into a bathroom not so quietly and it failed as they couldn't get the door to even close. I've been a flight attendant for 3 years and I've never caught anyone. I did have a coworker tell me she had 2 people in first class, during sleep time with all the lights off, having sex in one of their seats. A bit late to this. But my lady friend is a flight attendant. Her best story is when the offending couple came out of the bathroom. They were presented with a first-time Mile High Club certificate signed by the whole flight crew, including the pilots. It was drawn on one of the first-time certificates given to little kids. And they crossed out a few words with crayon and wrote in Mile High Club instead of first-time flyer. The couple were suitably embarrassed. I'm not a flight attendant, but my 2 friends got pretty smashed before their flight. My buddy put one of Kate's rings on his finger, claiming they just got engaged, in order to argue his way to sitting next to her. Kate heads to the bathroom as soon as the seatbelt signs off, and 1 minute later I see my buddy Mike making moves to the back. 14 rows away from the back of the plane all we heard was, "Knock knock, yo Kate, let me the duck in." It didn't work out for him, but it was a hell of an effort. Not a flight attendant, but I almost joined the Mile High Club once. I met someone flying home from college. I got bumped into first class. Found myself sitting there next to a positively ravishing woman. She was a bit older and I was trying desperately to be suave. So when she leaned over and suggested we join the Mile High Club, rather than admit I was unfamiliar with the term, I whispered back, "I really don't travel enough to make that worthwhile." God. That was 20 years ago. Nope. Still can't laugh about it. Not a flight attendant, but had a guy next to me join the Mile High Club solo an hour into a 13-hour flight. I was going to take a sleeping pill, but I stayed bug-eyed awake the whole ducking time. The worst part was he used the arm closest to me. Actual flight attendant here. My girlfriend came on one of my layovers recently, and we had a very long delay to get back home. The flight that left before us was booked light, so they reaccommodated all of the remaining passengers to that flight. When we finally flew back to base, we had no passengers. So my girlfriend decided to stay on my flight and be the only passenger. Looking back, I probably missed an opportunity. It'll abbreviate the story, but I was flying back from my grandma's funeral and started a conversation with a woman next to me, and she got drunk and showed me grainy naked pics of herself on her flip phone, and she got wasted on red wine and tried to get me to have sex with her in the lavatory, but I declined. She was puking in there as we were landing. Okay. Obligatory, not a flight attendant, but I am an airline pilot. So I feel that is close enough. I haven't been flying at an airline very long, but long enough to know the flight attendants so far in this thread are lying about being a flight attendant, or incredibly naive. During my first trip as an airline pilot, we had a passenger get a little tipsy and flash the cabin. There were no children on board. So the flight attendants didn't even bother to tell us until we were waiting for the hotel van. Same month we had a couple near the back of the plane lift the middle armrest and do it under a blanket. They were kind enough to take the blanket with them at the end of the flight. This spawned a conversation about the worst passengers that those flight attendants had dealt with. The winner of that conversation had found a designer glasses case left behind in a seat that had cum in it. Note: I am not saying that you will get away with it. It all depends on what the flight crew wants to do about it and how much you are disturbing the other passengers. While many FAs will turn a blind eye, do you really want to find out if you're flying with one that will not? Never experienced this and am not a flight attendant. But for anyone who can answer, are there rules in place for this sort of thing, and do you all actually care? No, I'm not asking for a friend. I don't get the appeal. Public bathrooms are disgusting and airplane ones are even worse because they're so tiny. What makes someone see that and think, oh yeah, I want to get freaky in that little nasty shithole? My mom's a flight attendant. She told me of a red-eye flight where everyone was asleep. She was walking towards the back when she saw a woman straddling a man in first class. She loves to yell at people. Not a flight attendant, but a passenger many years ago on a Boeing 727, Delta airline I think, New York to Miami. We were cruising along when ding was heard through the cabin. Then ding ding. Then ding 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 ding. Everyone looked at each other with a bit of alarm, then the air hostesses started laughing. Ding 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 ding, faster and faster than nothing. Since all the air hostesses were staring at the back of the plane, so did the passengers. Out came a young couple one after the other. The entire airplane burst into applause and the young lady turned the most lovely shade of deep red. Two-time member of the MHC. Both times were on overnight flights during a non-busy time, when most people are sleeping. The back of most larger intercontinental capable planes, 777, A380, etc., have one or two elongated lavs. Both people should be standing and facing the same way. The way it works is one person leaves their seat first and goes into the lav after identifying to the other party which lav it's going to be. Lock the door, but have the party lift up the no smoking sign on the outside of the door and unlock it from the outside. Once inside, you know what to do. Make it quick and then one person leave and lock the door again. A minute or so later, the last person leaves. Nobody had any idea both times. This whole time I thought the Mile High Club was doing it with a flight attendant. Didn't realize it could just be with your partner. That makes it a lot easier because this whole time I was like, how the hell are you meant to seduce an attendant in a public space without it being super weird? Having said that, I've only done touchies. I barely fit in those bathrooms myself. Don't have space for another. Been that guy who really had to pee and was waiting for a free toilet when the first one left the bathroom. The door was relocked and then the second sheepishly left. Oh, and they were sitting same row as me but across the aisle. Awkward on 9-hour flight.